Welcome back to the IdahoSports.com boys basketball state tournament preview special. Let's bring in our 2A state tournament broadcasters, Lorin Jensen and Paul Kingsbury. Lorin, good to see you.
What's up, guys?
There was a little bit of panic right there, Lorin, when you came on. It was like,
there was?
Yeah, it looked like you panicked a little bit.
Oh, I just unmuted my mic.
Oh,
I just panic when I see you. That's that. It's like,
your heart flutters a little bit.
Well, actually, it's more like scary. But, anyways,
Brandon, take over.
You know what's scary? This 2A state field, and you know who's not nervous or caught off guard? This 2A state tournament field, because this thing is absolutely loaded, guys. And I know, generally speaking, the 2A fans are the most vocal on the preview show, and I want to hear from all the 2A fans tonight. If there's a team, if there's a player, if there's a coach you want to give a shout out to, you want to ask these guys a question, throw it in the comments. We'll throw it up on the screen. But let's take a look at this 2A bracket and really start diving into it. The 2A state tournament taking place at Capitol High School there in Boise, and right away, 4 versus 5. District champions from District 6 and District 5. It's North Fremont against Westside. Then you got the number 1 seed, Coal Valley Christian, taking on St. Mary's, the 8th seed. When was the last time you said that about the Lumberjacks? 2 versus 7, Ambrose and Firth. And then Nampa Christian, the 3 seed, Declo, the 6. Lorin, what's the first thing that jumps out to you when you look at this bracket?
Nampa Christian, the 3 seed, and all those WIC teams. I mean, you've got Coal Valley 1, Ambrose 2, Nampa Christian 3, and you could have had New Plymouth, you could have had Melba. So that WIC, it was rough over there for all those teams. They were all in that top 5 all year long. Sprinkle in a couple other teams, but now we get to see how they match up against everybody else across the state.
Yeah,
Paul,
on paper you should have seen Melba, right?
Yeah.
Except the district tournament happens, and anything can happen in districts. So Nampa Christian breaks through. Sorry, Brandon, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I think a lot of people were surprised that Nampa Christian was the 3 seed, but we were told that district tournament results were going to count in these Max Preps rankings. And if you think about who they took out on their way, Coal Valley and Ambrose and New Plymouth, I mean, those 3 wins right there kind of moved them up to that top 3 seed line, right?
They absolutely earned it. And, a lot of times you look at the district tournament translating into state. Yeah, they eked their way in, but, their conference wasn't strong. Not the 2A WIC this year. At one point, the top 5 of the top 5 teams in the state were all 2A WIC teams, the top 5. And I've never seen that in, my 76 years of doing this. It's just been, I'd never seen it. And to have 3 of those teams on the bracket, 1, 2, 3, it's pretty cool. Now, real quick, before we go any further, speaking of shout outs, I need a shout out to my oldest son, Jackson, who's actually watching this at Fort Polk in Louisiana, getting ready to deploy next month. So he was best camera guy we ever had, producer. He didn't care about sports, so he focused on the job. So I miss having him as my broadcast partner, but Spud, love you, bud.
Yeah, and thanks for your service, of course, as well. Definitely. Okay, Pierce in the comments. WIC just beat each other up all year, that Western Idaho Conference. They sure did. It was actually Coal Valley Christian, the number 1 overall seed, Paul, that almost didn't make it to state, right? They had to beat Melba in the 4th place game at districts, and then they had to go play a state play-in game on Saturday as well. They had to play Orofino, the Maniacs, up there in North Idaho. So for Coal Valley, I think losing and stumbling at districts was kind of a good get-right loss for them.
It absolutely was. I've seen them play a couple of times this year against Ambrose once. And they're such a dynamic team. And to see the number 1 seed at state got there by winning a play-in game, it's not a good look, I guess. Good way to put it. It's interesting to have your number 1 seed get there through a play-in game. It is what it is. They're a very good team. You're right. They stumbled in the district tournament. They're here. They're streaky. If they're on, you're not going to beat them. If they're all off, I saw them one night where they were all off, and it was a crazy night. But great shooters all the way around. So yeah, absolutely, it's good to see the WIC. Lorin and I are both 2A WIC guys. Both graduated from New Plymouth. doing the 2A. So we're right at home there.
The other thing is, Brandon, I just, talking about Nampa Christian coming around and becoming that 3 seed, but they beat Ambrose twice in the regular season. They beat them in that district tournament, but they beat them by 3 as well. And so they're not like a slouch that came out of there and won that district tournament. Those teams were all right there, and they just happened to get hot at the right time.
They're the Rodney Dangerfield of the 2A classification.
Get no respect.
They get no respect.
They've been playing very well for sure. Question from David in the chat. Why can't you guys do the state seedings and not max preps? Yeah, okay. I think what we've all kind of agreed is that max preps is a good tool to use to help seed state, but there has to be a human element, right? I think it's a combination of rankings and humans. Computers alone, you can get some wonky stuff. It's kind of like the NCAA, right? When they seed the March Madness tournament, right? They have all these computer numbers they use, but then it's also humans that get together and seed it out. And so,
right.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the boilerplate response for max preps tonight.
I just want to throw this out there real quick.
Sorry.
For the 2As, an interesting thing, they cut off midnight Saturday night is when they cut off everything, and that's where they get the rankings over the weekend. Rankings came out again, just automatically released on Monday, I believe, and not a lot changed. But one thing that did change was St. Mary's and Firth actually swapped. Firth was the 8, and St. Mary's was the 7. So they'd have been on opposite sides of the bracket, and we're not going to get into it, but the records were different. Games were added. Games were taken away from different teams, and that happened on Monday. So it didn't affect the top 6, but it definitely affected St. Mary's and Firth, where they swapped seedings after they'd already been done.
Yeah, and I think they intentionally held back the state play-in games because they didn't want that data point to be considered, right? Just district tournament results, but Firth won a play-in game, so you would think that would only help them. They wouldn't move backwards in that scenario, but
right, they added that game and they went backwards.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, here's a good reminder from Patty, and this will be a good pivot to what I wanted to ask Lauren here. She said, remember, in the state girls basketball tournament, you guys loved the Boise teams, and not one made it past the semis for sure. And so, Lauren, I want to ask you about that 4 versus 5 matchup up top. North Fremont and West Side. Those are 2 teams that I think are pretty similar. They defend the heck out of the basketball. They're loaded with athletes. They've got good coaches. Shannon Hill at North Fremont, Tyler Brown at West Side, who's been there forever. That, to me, is the most interesting first-round matchup.
I think Patty's mistaken a little bit. I think Paul loves the Boise teams in that girls tournament. I was on the other side of things. I actually was picking like North Fremont and Grangeville or something. Soda Springs, I think, actually. So I picked to win it all. So I don't know.
Picked Coal Valley.
I was still wrong.
Coal Valley, Grangeville. I picked Coal Valley, Grangeville in the final.
Yeah, I was still wrong too. But man,
and that's Meridian, by the way. Coal Valley.
But that first matchup there in North Fremont, they're a good 4 team, like a good 4 seed right there. They're the district champion out of that District 6 conference. They're a tough team. Like you mentioned, Coach Shannon Hill, he's won a couple titles. He's got that program moving over the last 10 years. They're a great team, and West Side's going to have their hands full. And if North Fremont wins, whoever wins between Coal Valley and St. Mary's is going to have a tough go of it the next night.
Yeah, can we talk about this, Paul? I think Coal Valley, by getting the number 1 seed, actually got the more difficult path. Does that make sense? Because you've beaten Ambrose this year. You have beaten Nampa Christian, not at districts, but you beat them in the regular season. Firth is well coached. Declo's kind of a wild card, but you look up top, and North Fremont and West Side are both really good teams that Coal Valley, I don't know how they match up. And then St. Mary's is an 8. This has got to be the most dangerous 8 seed in the history of 8 seeds. All Brian Chase has done in 10 years at St. Mary's is taken the Lumberjacks to state all 10 years. And oh, by the way, the first 9 years, he's taken St. Mary's to the semifinals. He has never not been in the semifinals at state.
Yeah. And it's probably it's like Princeton, right? Not that St. Mary's is Princeton, but they're the Princeton of this bracket. It would not be a shocker to see them go to the semifinals. It'd be a shocker to Coal Valley, and they're a very good team. But St. Mary's also, I mean, basically you can throw the seedings out the window in this two-way tournament. Declo is a team that I could see going into the semis. All of these teams, it's going to be going into the opening tip. Lauren and I on day one are going to be going, man, I don't know who's going to win. No clue. It's 8 really, really good teams. And it might be the most fun bracket in the tournament.
Yep. Here's a comment from Mike Ridgway. Congrats to Coach Jacoby Fox and the Declo Hornets. Good luck at state. Lauren, Declo and Wendell split in the regular season. They both went 3-1. They both swept the community school, the Cutthroats, and then they split with each other. And so I liked what they did at districts. They have the best of 3 series. Game 1, since they both tied in the regular season and beat each other, they played at a neutral site, Valley High School. And then whoever won that game inherited home court advantage for the remaining games. And so Declo won the neutral site game. Declo won the second game. The final score doesn't indicate how close it was, but Wendell almost got to state and not Declo. So they come in battle tested, I think, and ready to go.
Yeah, and they play, with that small conference, obviously, we talk about that a lot with this District 4 small conference in the 2As, and it's kind of up in the air. Like, how good are they? Did they just beat up on each other? Are they a really great team? Wendell was really great. Did they just kind of split, like you said, and they're going to match up really good with some of these other teams at state? And so, yeah, I think they're battle tested. They're ready to roll coming into the tournament.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how this all shakes out. Here is, Lindsay from Cascade, Coal Valley Christian. They're good, but not sure about a 1 seed considering how they got there. Yeah, like you said, Paul, it's a weird look to have your number 1 overall seed. Almost not. It's almost as weird as not to go back to the 1A D1 bracket because we just did that preview, but it's almost as weird as seeing the defending state champions from Lakeside having to earn their way back to state via a play-in game. That was just weird, right?
It's very weird, but the way it works now, you take everything into account. I mean, you know how it works. I mean, if you're not, go to the Idaho Sports homepage, click on tournament coverage, and go back and watch that Max Preps deep dive we did for a prep cast where we talked a lot about how everything works. Go back and watch it. It's a good time.
The other thing is, though, let's say we're not using Max Preps on these seedings and we're doing something else, how would you change this bracket? Like, where would you seed everybody? Because, maybe Coal Valley won, maybe they slipped to 2 or 3, and Ambrose, I don't know who ends up the 1 seed, because I don't think Nampa Christian, even though they beat Coal Valley, I don't think they deserve to be in the 1 seed based on their body of work throughout the season. So it's tough to seed this tournament.
It really is. And then like this tournament, more than any other, the numbers are kind of inconsequential. You can kind of, like Paul said, throw them out the window.
I didn't use that big of a word because I don't even know what that means. So
inconsequential. Okay. Scott says, if nothing else, watch the Max Preps deep dive for the Christmas sweaters. Yeah, we did record that in December. That is true. Okay. Pierce says, better hear some picks for this tourney. We'll get to them in just a second. First, it's our 2A players to watch. We picked 1 from each team. Here's what we've got. Tyson Hughes from Ambrose, Eli Kingery from Coal Valley Christian, Emmett Gibby from Declo, Gabe Nelson from Firth, great player underneath, Donovan Wiles from Nampa Christian, who's been on a heater since district tournament play started, Jed Hill from North Fremont, Wyatt Holmes of St. Mary's, Eli Brown of Westside. Paul, who's the guy you're most excited to watch?
I think it's probably a tie between Tyson Hughes and Eli Kingery.
They're guys you've already seen.
I know, but I didn't get to see Tyson Hughes at his best. The games I saw, he was a little bit off, but I know when he's on, he's on. And they're at Ambrose, they've got 3 of their top guys are lefties, which I'm a lefty, you're a lefty. It's great to watch. But then Kingery, they're at Coal Valley, 16 points a game. He's a stud. I don't know. The Gibster, they're at Declo. He's almost averaging a double-double. All right, if I can't go with those 2, I'm going to say Wyatt Holmes. 54 assists, 11 points a game, 2 block shots, big guy with 54 assists. How great's that?
It's a team basketball that St. Mary's prides themselves on. Lorin, one guy you're excited to watch here?
I've been out of Eastern Idaho now, at least out of Northeast Idaho, over in the Sugar City area for a couple of years now. I really want to see what Jed Hill looks like out of North Fremont. They've had some great players come out of there. They always have a fun offense. And I just want to see what Jed Hill looks like now that he's a couple years older since I've seen him last.
And of course, Jed and his twin brother, Jacob Hill, right? We'll spark a debate in the how come they picked you and not me?
Yeah.
An interesting
no sibling fights.
Right.
An interesting thing about these players to watch, guys, they're all seniors except Emmett Gibby. He's a junior. So it's a very senior heavy tournament this year. Last year, there were a lot of juniors in the statewide that were studs, which obviously translates to this year being seniors. So 7 of those 8 players to watch are all seniors with, and I got permission to call him the Gibster, by the way. It's not his official nickname, but I'm hoping it sticks.
We'll see. Nicknames are kind of an organic thing. You can't force it. So we'll see how that works out for you this weekend. Okay, Pierce demanded it. So let's get official picks here. Paul, what do you got?
Gary didn't have to.
Well, I felt bad for Gary. I don't feel bad for you.
All right. I actually understand that. Well, crud. We had that one comment where people actually remember what we picked. I didn't think anyone was actually watching these things.
And that's the thing. Like, don't take it personally if we don't pick your team. We do this for fun. And like I said, we love being wrong. If we're wrong, we got a lot wrong in girls hoops. We come back and own it for sure. So
yeah. And we great friends in St. Mary's, right? Since they've been back every year, Brian Chase, coaching staff, love them. All these guys. So, but I don't see Cole Valley losing. So I honestly think it might be a Cole Valley Ambrose final. I picked Cole Valley for girls, and I feel like I'm a Cole Valley homer here. But I'm really not. I just if someone's going to come out other than Ambrose, Nampa Christian, if someone comes out other than Cole Valley, I think it's going to be a North Fremont. But if I have to pick, like you're saying, I'm going to say Cole Valley Ambrose in the final.
Okay, Lorin.
Well, I'm just going to be opposite of Paul here just because. So we cover our bases. One of us is going to get it right, hopefully. But I'm going to go North Fremont because I agree with Paul. If anybody besides Cole Valley is going to come out of the top half, I think it's going to be North Fremont to come out of there into the final. On the bottom, man, I had Ambrose, but I think, Nampa Christian's hot. They've already beat them. They're on a roll here going out of district tournament. So I'm going to go North Fremont, Nampa Christian. Plus we have 2 teams with 2 names in the final. That's what I want. North Fremont, Nampa Christian.
Susan says so predictable. I'm sure that was
which one?
I think it's Paul.
Is that for you, Paul?
Listen, I'm a small school guy. I grew up in New Plymouth. I live in Cuna. Okay. I'm not a Boise area homer by any stretch of the imagination. I promise. I've got more friends around the state.
There it is.
I'm gonna have to shave and have plastic surgery before Thursday now.
It's all good, Paul. You're not on trial. Selfishly, I want St. Mary's, North Fremont in the semis only because I was there 3 years ago when they played in the semis, and Colby Renner hit the shot of all-time shots for St. Mary's, and just the history with those two, it'd be a lot of fun. So,
I'm going to change my picks. I'm going to say Firth and St. Mary's in the finals.
really lean into it.
Way opposite. You should go west side. Well, I guess you can't do a west side, and
Pierce says, "Don't let him get to you."
Easy for you to say, Pierce. Easy for you to say.
Good positive message to end on. All right. Thanks for tuning into the 2A state tournament preview special. Paul Kingsbury, Lorin Jensen will have the call from Capitol High School this week. We will take a break and we will come back with our 3A state tournament preview right after this. You're watching the 2024 Idaho High School boys basketball state tournament preview special on IdahoSports.com.